today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
Welcome to When the Football Is Right Now. Welcome from around the world, wherever you are. Join us. Here we go. Hup, hup. We hope to get someone from England. Hopefully, if he turns up. Hup, chicken nuts. Hey, here we go. Yo, hup, hup, hup. Ah, yes, we've got some big news tonight for you guys. Big news. Hey! The cup of life. This is the one. Now is the time. Don't ever stop. We should've known, gotta be strong. We should've known, right from the top. And when you feel the heat, the world is at your feet. No one can hold you back if you really want it. Here we go. I see it in your eyes. You want the cup of life. Not the days here, you're gonna get it. Do you really want it, Kenny? Angelo, do you want it from Italy? Let's do it. Here we go. Here, we are the people. We are the passion. We are the history. Boy, we are history. We got a lot of things to talk about tonight, but I tell you what, there's a big special tonight. Welcome everyone. It's Our Way, the Highway, of course. Our Way, the Highway, the game in Australia. And let me tell you, we got some amazing news in a couple of minutes, guys. Angelo from Italy, welcome right now. And Kenny Wilson, welcome, boys. Oh my God, guys, we're still waiting for somebody from England. They're so far behind in England, but let me just say right now, Football S is live tonight, of course, and we go on the 4th of September. We go on the 4th of September to Channel 31 in Melbourne, guys. Channel 31 in Melbourne. There'll be more news in the next few weeks, but of course, from the 4th of September, we're on Channel 31 on Thursday nights, of course. Kind of Thursday nights. But let me say, guys, a 13-week season. We're covering NPL finals. We're going to be covering the NSL Australian Championship, as Kenny calls it, the Mickey Mouse Cup, of course. And of course, we're looking for stories. We're looking for characters of the game. We want stories from Italy, of course. Angelo will have stories, of course, down there. But a lot of clubs, you need to come and talk to us. We're going to be on Channel 31, and of course, there's going to be replays on Channel 31 at night time as well. They've been telling me that as well. So don't forget, of course, Angelo, it's a big thing. Trying to get on TV. It's been a long time, Angelo, a long time.
Yeah, congratulations, Harry. I know you've been talking about this a lot. It is great news for yourself that puts in so much hard work. I noticed that in your voice there when you started that song. Well, of course, we hear that every week, but your voice is getting a little bit more mellow, like Elvis Presley, for example.
Exactly, yes.
When he was 17, and then, of course, when we heard him in 37, 38 in Hawaii.
There's
Harry,
one thing to say. Thank you very much. Here you go.
Seriously, Harry, congratulations. I know you've been putting in a lot of work, and of course, we've been talking to sponsors and commercial partners.
And you've helped us. It's fantastic of you to help us to get this over the line too, actually.
Look, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure because I know that how much work goes into what you're doing, and I know a lot of the times you work to midnight, past midnight.
Oh, mate.
And congratulations to you, but also congratulations to the people, the fans right around Australia. I think that that'll be a show that you can build on. I know Kenny off air was saying that 5 p.m. is a funny time slot. He's right. He's 100% correct. But it's also a time slot where you can build. You can actually build your show and get some sort of following, of course, I think the best thing to do is promote it and, publicise it in all the football fraternity, the amateur league, all the links around the NSL, the NSL links and all of the football communities right around Australia. I think that you'll get a following.
We hope to get some stories from all the clubs out there. If you guys are out there and you have stories for us during that time, and we could have a female presenter doing stories for us outside as well. We're talking about that right now. But I tell you what, Kenny, and also what I will say is that this show will be replayed at night time via Channel 31. They've told me that they'll give us a time there as well, and that will be very different, so they can re-show those, and I'm sure that you'll be more interested in those times around about maybe 9 o'clock, 10. That's a bit late, but at least we'll get somewhere. And, of course, to actually present the NPL finals. It'll be fantastic. NPL finals at the home of the Matildas, and of course NPL finals throughout Australia. Kenny, there you go.
Good man. Oh, well, mate.
It's hard.
Good luck, and mate. You can only do what's in front of you, mate. That's all good.
Exactly. It's been really hard to actually try and, of course, get this over the line, but we've got it over the line, and we're just getting in right now and see what we can do with other clubs. If you're interested in it, you got stories, we want to know your stories as well. So the thing about this tonight, we're supposed to have Stephen Williams. I don't think he'll be coming on tonight. He hasn't. He may come on at any time. But let me say right now about the Matildas of course, the Matildas playing. Kenny, I saw the game. You might have seen the first game too, Angelo. That Matildas game was very good. That one, of course, they were very attacking, but they still made mistakes out the back. They're mainly attack. I've never seen the Matildas. I'll ask Kenny first. Kenny, I couldn't believe the Matildas going forward and attacking. And the Slovenians were actually caught out, but they didn't score that first game. And let me say one thing before this. The gentleman who actually coaches the Slovenian team is actually a friend of mine. He used to be at South Melbourne FC. He was the coach at South Melbourne FC, and congratulations going back home and getting the job, of course, of your national squad. There you go, Kenny. There's a bit of history there for you. Kenny, they were attacking if you saw the first game.
Yeah, I did. Look, first game, probably the right game to have a team that we should beat. From a ratings perspective, I think it fell into place. He gave a few young players that have been on the fringes. I think he realises there's a new dawn there. I think there's a lot of players there that are probably just past the best, and he'll know who he has to replace. I mean, football's it's a cold game. When your time's up, your time's up, and you get moved on. And I think there's 2 or 3 of the players there that have been great servants for the Matildas, but I think there's 2 or 3 players there now that have probably come towards the end of the tenor. So he's got to bring some new players through. I think he's got 6 or 7 that he's looking at in the W League. So it'll be interesting. I mean, he's certainly a pedigree coach. He's Australian. He's here. He ticks the boxes, and he's got. It looks as though he's got a good backroom staff. So we all hope they do well. We've when they were going well back in the Stars days, when we were beating Brazils and drawing with England and beating America, USA. They were absolutely flying, and everyone was getting behind that bandwagon, which was great. Unfortunately, we've had that splintered effect in the last 5 or 6, well, probably 4 seasons, where we sort of, it's a split opinion. Have we gone backwards? I think we probably have. I don't think we probably have. I think we have. We went from 6th to 12th to 14th, but we can get back. We certainly can get back, and I think the coach is a guy that can probably get us back on track again.
Angelo, you may have seen the games, but it was very attacking the first game. But the second game that I saw, I couldn't believe it. The Slovenians had improved that much and actually came back in and actually scored a goal. They did make a mistake at the back. He changed a lot of players in the second game, and we've got Panama next week. We're playing Panama here. The funny thing about this is, Angelo, is that we're not playing. Is it right to play these teams now? These friendlies. I know we got and the Asian Cup is next year. It's not that far away now, but he's got a lot of players he's trying out. What do you think? Is he? I think it's only it was his second game. What do you think?
Look, I think he's on the right track. Okay, and I'll tell you why. He's given me. Reminds me of very much the same as how Tony Popovich started. I know he didn't have a lot of time, Tony Popovich, and he started with a win against China. I think Joe started with a good win, and I think it's the right thing to do because we have to try out the players. We know that
Yeah, Angelo.
players needed to sort of, we needed to change the team and bring in some of the youngsters and build the team again. I think that he will do really well because, you know, you can tell that he's already approaching and the players, and he's asking for advice of the other scouts that go around watching, you know, the women's local competitions. And he's also, look, I think the group is now rejuvenated, even though they haven't demonstrated that in the last game. But I think it will take another game or two before they reach their peak. And to answer your question, look, I think that they're going to be very strong. I think the Matildas have got a fantastic opportunity. But let's not kid ourselves. You know, they've got a large following right around Australia, around the world, and they need to be a very competitive group. And I think that Joe Montemurro is very aware of that. Football Australia are aware of that. There's a large expectation, and I think they'll come to the goods. I really believe that this is a very exciting period for the Matildas.
It is an exciting period to have a new coach and a new way of playing, but also what I see is that where are we going with, of course, our captain? She's still, whether she's a captain or not anymore, Sam Kerr. Kenny, is she one of the ones that he's going to move on, or is he going to keep her? She was there in the stands watching the game, of course, you know?
Yeah, well, I think Football Australia obviously are quite smart. You know, she's still iconic as far as the Matildas are concerned. And they're smart from a branding perspective. You know, if you've got Mary Fowler currently now is taking on that Sam Kerr mantle, but both of them are injured and quite serious injuries. Now Sam Kerr's at an age where she's had a knee reconstruction, a massive injury, and we all know that her strength, very similar to Timmy Cahill, was in the air. Now, unfortunately, when you get a knee reconstruction, you lose that little bit of bounce.
Yes.
And so I wouldn't expect her to come back as good as she was. And she's obviously aged, you know, a year and a half before she'll be back playing. And I'd imagine that Chelsea will be putting her in cotton wool because they'll be wanting to get as much out of her as possible. So I would suspect that she will play for the Matildas maybe once or twice, but I think they'll bring her back and have a money spinner, a farewell at some stage in the not too distant future, because you know, look, I hope she can make a full recovery, but it'll be very, very difficult, very, very difficult, and during that period, there's players coming into that role that we need to score goals and to progress. Obviously, we get the Asian Cup. So I don't know how long Mary Fowler's going to be out for, probably 8 or 9 months. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing. But I think one thing the FA has done, they've utilised Sam Kerr in regards to the public exceptionally well. You know, they sit her on the bench, you know, they get her to do a bit of PR. And, you know, my grandkids love her, right? You know, I mean, and Mary Fowler. You know, they're the two names. And that's even my grandson, and he's 8. You know, when we went to the game against Korea, the first thing he said to me when he looked up on the board, he says, "Why is Mary Fowler not playing from the start?"
Well,
he's 8 years old.
Gee, he understands. Boy.
Why is Mary Fowler not playing from the start? That was the first question he asked me. I looked at him and I went, "Seriously?" She said, "Yeah, Pop. Why is Mary Fowler on the bench? She's the best player."
And the funny thing, Kenny, is that he hasn't mentioned any Socceroo players, has he, at all, or any stage, any time? It's always the girls.
No,
it's the girls, huh?
No, well,
oh my God.
Yeah, they're very big on and my granddaughter's the same, and my daughter. You know, they love the Matildas, and that's great. You know, I mean, it's great. You know, but I think as Angelo said many times, fortunately or unfortunately, the FA got behind the Matildas and sort of forgot about the Socceroos. They left Socceroos as a distant thought. and they're paying the price for that. We'll get back. We'll get back to
Exactly
being the elite team. There's no doubt about it. Now that we've got Combank as a solid sponsor, it'll start coming good. It will start getting back into the I suppose the main media spotlight when we play some big games. Now that we've definitely qualified for the World Cup, and so that'll be interesting.
Angelo, the most important thing I'm going to say tonight about the Matildas is they better start winning games at tournaments, because they're not winning games at tournaments. We've had some of the coaches from Tony Gustafsson, the Macarena dancer. I think he was dancing the Macarena on the ground or something. Then you had Tom Samani. Tom Samani, Kenny, how long was he there for? Was he 6 months? Was there 7 months to a year? How long was Tommy there for again?
Oh, it'd be nearly a year. But remember, Tommy coached the Matildas.
Yes, before.
For I think 3 or 4 seasons before.
That's right. Yes,
and he's in the USA. And he's in New Zealand
as well.
So Tommy has a huge history in regards to coaching women's football, and he was Eddie Thompson's assistant in Japan.
Yes,
in the J League.
Yep.
And I was fortunate. Tommy used to, when I was 17, I played with Tommy in Scotland. He used to take me to training, and he's little. So I've known Tommy for 50 years.
I'll get back to Angelo. Angelo, the importance now is that they win, because the community is giving him an opportunity to still following them. How important is it that we do well at the Asian Cup in this country? I mean, we did make the semi-final. We didn't get through at the World Cup. But how important is it for the Matildas this time to take it to the next level? Because they've not been doing it.
Yeah. Oh, look, as I said before, I think we're on the right track. It is going to be a bit of a slow process because, Tommy Sermani is a fantastic coach. We all know his abilities and what he's done in the past, but he was a bit of a stopgap, situation where he did bring in some youngsters, but I think Joe Montemurro, he's taken the project in hand. He knows what's needed to be done. He knows that he needs to change the squad and the group and have a mixture of good experience and some really young, exciting players. And I think we've got a lot of young, exciting players for the Matildas. Also, what Kenny was saying before about the demographics in Australia, when we talk about the Matildas, of course, we can't say it enough. We cannot say it enough. Television started in 1959 in Australia, and the Matildas smashed all records. I won't go on about that, but one thing that they actually achieved during that time is that they've got the demographics, meaning that they have interest from 7 or 8 year olds, as Kenny was saying there, right up to a 70 or 80 year old person. You go up to a grandmother or grandfather and just say, look, do you know Caitlin Ford, or do you know Sam Kerr, or any of the names in the Matildas? I think that they'll come off the lips of the Australian public as young as 7 or 8 year old, even maybe 5 year old, and maybe right up to 70, 80 year old. So they've got the mass market of Australia. And I repeat, the expectation is so high. Football Australia now, with Heather Garriott, she will definitely profile a little bit more and emphasise on the importance of the expectation on the performance on the park. Exactly. Going back to your question, okay, they need to really build this group to be very competitive for the Asia Cup, because that's going to be another fantastic opportunity for us to profile the sport. But not only because of the Matildas, but of course the Socceroos have qualified. So we're only 12 months away from the World Cup, in 2026 in Canada, USA and Mexico. So I say this, and I cannot say it enough, we need to contact mainstream media and say, this is another extraordinary opportunity for Australia to profile our sport. Because in 12 months' time, the Socceroos are playing in the World Cup. They've already qualified. So what does the FA do now, okay, to promote the game and to get more bumps on seats for the A-League? This is a great opportunity because it's all integrated. It's not just about we've got the Socceroos, we've got the Matildas, but then what is the A-League? The A-League, it all needs to be integrated, and we have. I wish I was the marketing manager.
Oh,
gentlemen.
Yeah, but the problem,
I'm going to say,
Angelo,
I wish I was the marketing manager.
Get back here, will you?
The problem is, guys, we made the mistake where the FA's sold the A-League. The A-League's a privately run organisation
on their own.
So
the
FA's not got a great interest in the A-League as far as, they're not investing any money in the A-League.
They're not.
FA,
but Kenny, there's one thing. There's one thing that you're absolutely 100% correct. But there's one thing that I cannot believe. In every part of the world, football is integrated into amateur league, the NPL, for example, the A-League, the Socceroos, the Matildas, the Joeys, the young Socceroos and Olyroos and all that sort of thing. Now, we know that the A-League is run by the APL. We know that. I mean, that happened years ago when Sir Arthur George and, those years where they actually gave the competition to be administered by the clubs. It's a big mistake. And, and we've also got confirmation of that, where the game's at. They've run out of money. They blew 140 million. No one knows where that is.
They're
still doing the investigation. Look, we're not being negative, but Football Australia, being the governing body, should step in and put their arms around their big brother. Their brother is the A-League, and have a new approach, maybe come up with a new plan. And only then, Kenny, and I say this to all our listeners and viewers, we will progress a lot faster because we can then approach the government. And then approach the government for what? Approach the government for a bigger fund, support, and also with the government you can approach FIFA. I mean, you're not really too far away. I'm just amazed that some of these things aren't happening, but I know that Football Australia is doing some excellent work. I'm not in a position to announce, but that there are some big announcements coming up. Heather Garrick was a top choice at this minute with James Johnson departing. And Harry and Kenny, I think let's get ready for some really good announcements coming up.
The biggest announcement.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
The biggest announcement is this. We've got our A-League, okay? We've got our A-League. Our clubs are struggling. Western United are just on the edge. And a few days ago, I got this information from another guy saying that they did not accept the bid to buy the club from these American or American Australian company with some Russian influence in there. And they said no. No, they didn't accept it. And that was the APL. They didn't accept it. Nothing to do with the Football Australia. So payers are not being paid. This is another problem here right now. So just remember this as them being one company run by one company, which means if one team goes down, Kenny, is this the truth? If one team goes down, the whole company suffers. Is that right?
Well, I mean, it depends on the structure, but let's be honest, it's like Groundhog Day. I mean, I've been saying this for 4 or 5 years. Forget Western United. What about Perth? What about Newcastle? Yeah, what about Brisbane? What about MacArthur? It's not the Mary Celeste, mate. There's about 5 teams could go overnight.
At any time.
Literally. And Central Coast Mariners are now in that bath.
Oh, boy.
There's probably 6 of the 14 that you could possibly say could topple. Without funding coming from, owners, presidents, or whoever it might be. It's a schmozzle. I mean, it's an absolute schmozzle. How it's lasted. I know I keep saying it. It won't last in its current structure. It won't last as long as the NSL lasted, which was 25 seasons. Well, it's season 20.
Yeah, Kenny, the sort of disappointing side of things is that Bill Foley of course, who's an entrepreneur, owns Portsmouth and other sporting organisations. He's not very happy. He invested, like people are saying 20 million, some are saying 25 million.
Oh, yeah, 25.
Into the license. Of course, Auckland had a very successful year. Like when you measure things in terms of success on the park, we all know what's happened off the park. They had the best crowds, the best average. They performed well. They won the Premier's Plate. So he did. But, as far as he's concerned, as an entrepreneur, he would be saying to himself, well, look, I've done the right thing. I've paid my money. My team has done well. But what is happening now? What's going to happen next season? I mean, he's not just thinking about one season, 12 months. And as you said, Kenny, you got Western United, Macarthur, Brisbane, and Newcastle and Central Coast, and you could, there's probably 2 or 3 clubs that are sustainable. Yeah, sustainable. They've got that financial sustainability. But at the end of the day, gentlemen, what do? Do you let the A-League die, or does someone step in? And who needs to step in?
The problem is that
the problem we've got is there isn't any fairy godfathers anymore. They've all been and gone. They've all thrown the money at the hat. They're finished. No one's going to. The Chinese was at Newcastle. And the guy that owned Park Lane Markets was at Newcastle. The guy in Perth is gone. The Central Coast Mariners guy's gone. Even the
Harry Michaels. You forgot about Harry Michaels.
Harry was
involved. Yes.
But you look at even MacArthur. They're talking about pulling the plug financially. Or putting the brakes on it. And then you've got the Wanderers. You've got the Bristol Small Goods lad. He's pulled the plug. He's pulled the plug as chairman. He's still a shareholder, but he's not throwing bad money after bad. I mean, I just look at it as a yardstick. We've got a 26 million population in this country. The Central Coast Mariners, on a smell of an oily rag, won everything. Asian Cup, you name it, won everything.
Kenny, they
still weren't sustainable.
What you're saying, Kenny,
and they still weren't sustainable.
And what you said, Kenny, is that these guys didn't have anything. A big office. They didn't have much stuff happening, but it was word of mouth about this player, word of mouth about that player, and that's how they worked on. There was no agents. They spoke about players and they recruited them. There was no middleman, so that's why they did it.
But what we've got is we're trying to sustain a full-time competition.
No, you can't do it anymore.
Without the funding, you've got a couple of clubs that Melbourne City, they're getting funded obviously by Manchester City.
Oh.
You've got Sydney FC that are getting funded from exterior places. You've got a couple of clubs that, for whatever reason, they're quite happy to lose $2 million a year or whatever it is. But that's not the rest of the clubs. The rest of the clubs can't afford to do that.
Adelaide's done well. They've done well. They've got the new owners. Of course, they sold in Rakunda. They sold. They also sold.
Craig, they got Craig sold as well, and they brought him back again.
Craig Goodwin. Yeah, but when they sold Craig Goodwin, they got a very big financial windfall, and about a year later they're sold in Nakunda. So if you get 2-3 million in the bank, Kenny, I think you can sustain your operation and your going concern for a little while. So Adelaide is one of the teams that. A better position.
Yeah, I agree with you. But let's the best team for that was Central Coast Mariners. They sold about 6 or 7 and still couldn't sustain it. They ran out of money. They sold.
Yeah, but
they sold Kenny, some big ones overseas.
I understand. Kenny, there's one thing that we don't know, and obviously we can talk about long-standing financial sustainability, all that sort of thing. Central Coast, we don't know whether they had debts prior to that, because if they won everything, they would have received money from FIFA.
They got
okay. They would have received a big financial windfall on their success, and of course, sponsors come on board. And as I always say, I've said this hundreds of times: when you win the league and you win Champions League and you win all of those leagues, that is the best opportunity to grow the club in terms of membership drive, in terms of fan base, in terms of sponsorship, commercial, all that sort of thing. Central Coast would have had that. The big question, did they have a $1 million debt? $5 million debt.
They can't
Who
sell.
were the skeletons in the
Well,
cupboard?
the debt's mountable, Angelo. You know how it works. But let me tell you, instead of getting $1.48 million TV money, they get $485,000. There was $1 million shortfall. In 2 years, $2 million shortfall. Every club, not just Central Coast Mariners, every club. So when you look at promise, receivable, two different things. Central Coast Mariners, I can assure you, I mean, the budget they had was, I think, 7.3 million for the year. It was one of the smallest budgets. When you look at Sydney FC, 11 million, 12 million. They were up there. Melbourne City up there. But you just look at it and you go, well, okay, how do we generate that type? I mean, none of them own their grounds. None of them own the commercial, the commercial stuff inside the grounds. So they're not generating commercial revenue because we don't own anything.
Kenny, this is the problem.
Not one club owns anything.
I think, Kenny, that the important thing is what you're saying. It's all about money. It's all about raising funds. Look, I'll just tell you my idea and what happens in Italy, what happens in the big leagues in Spain and so on, right? You have to appoint a person, invest not into a CEO or general manager, but into a commercial director. If you pay someone $200,000 or $250,000, I really don't know what the wages are over there. And you've got that person focusing on generating money and also promoting what the club has done, the achievements like Central Coast you mentioned. Now, with all of those points that you mentioned, Kenny, there are benefits and reciprocals, especially when you win a competition and you win the Asia competition. You've got all of the Asia multinational companies, like maybe in inverted commas, wanting to be part of Australia. Why aren't the clubs doing that? For example,
the issue we've got, we set the bar for our national team could only get Subway. That's when the bar was set.
Mm-hmm.
When you get Subway as your elite national team sponsor, anything under that is where you're looking in the A-League. A-League's not going to sponsor above Subway.
Yeah, but that's changed. Kenny, that's changed with the Commonwealth Bank coming in. I think whoever thought of that, that's... Anyway, what I've said before, Kenny, just be careful. We're in no position to announce, but there are some big announcements coming up with Football Australia. I'm very excited about it because I love the game. I love the game from my heart and passion and everything. I want Australia to improve. I want the A-League to improve. And I just can't wait until someone from the governing body wakes up one morning and just starts proposing the fact that football administration needs to be united. It needs to be stronger. It needs to quickly get back on its feet because, look, Stephen Conroy, everybody's talking about Stephen Conroy. What is he doing there? He's a high-profile person, okay? He can just press a few buttons and get in touch with some very influential people, okay? The problem we don't have, Kenny, a strong relationship with the government. And that's obvious because the media doesn't want to touch us. Apart from the Socceroos, Matildas and maybe Olyroos, the media, gentlemen, is a very powerful tool. And that's gone missing for the last 5, 6, 7 years before the COVID.
Well, the government, let's remember that the government funded the World Cup bid with Frank Lowy, and we spent a lot of money in that, yeah? A lot of money. That was government funded. Yeah, Frank went to the government and got the money, and it went in the toilet. But, that's right. What I would remind people is, we have never had unity. I've been here since 1977. Victorian FA, no. New South Wales, no. Queensland, too many. None of the. We shouldn't have them all.
Too many.
We should have a national body.
One. That's right.
Have a national body.
Too much.
Right. And until we get to that point, you put the foundations down first. You don't put the roof on. Right. You got to get the foundations done. And until we get one body pulling in the one direction, you can't have the Queensland Federation saying, you can't play in the new proposed second division. Yep. And you can't have the Victorians saying, you can't do this. Unless they're all pulling in the one direction, you're going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
But Kenny, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've got blueprints. Look, I know it's a long time ago, but you remember Nick Turner and Perth Glory, number one. We remember Adelaide United. We remember Melbourne Victory with Kevin Muscat. And, Gary Cole, big Gary Cole, he was involved there with Ernie Merrick, getting 50, 60,000. What I'm trying to say, gentlemen, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've got the blueprint, and it's just been put away somewhere, and it's getting cobwebs. I mean, let's talk frank, as I say, I think Ante Isaac, the chairman of Football Australia, he's doing a very, very good job, gentlemen. I'm not just pumping his trumpet, blowing, just promoting him, but I think behind the scenes is a very, very silent, quiet achiever. Okay, very silent, quiet achiever. He knows what the problem was, and I think what we need to know, gentlemen, what we need to know is that if you know what the problem is, you can find a solution. If you don't know and you haven't identified the problem, then we'll remain the same. I really don't believe that today. I want to be very positive. I believe that the football is far too big. Football is far too big, and it's a lot easier to improve it in Australia than it would be for to improve the world. I mean, football just comes down to your throat. Let's see. We
Angelo,
can see what FIFA's doing.
I have one gentleman speaking here right now. This is what you're talking about too, trying to fix this up. George Marchetti states, over-policing of football has affected the A-League crowds. Over-policing, which has happened in Victoria and everywhere. They can't go and send flags, do this. I mean, we know about of course, we do know, George, about the thing that happened in Victoria with the Melbourne Victory, with the flares and everything. I mean, over-policing, this is the thing with this, Angelo.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things.
Harry, unfortunately, we pay the penalty for past vices. When we did that crap when the goalkeeper got hit in the head and all that.
I know.
Well, they can't take a chance of that sort of shit happening again.
No, that.
And these players, little kids are down the front, they're throwing flares. I don't want my grandson getting hit in the back of the head with a flare.
No way.
Right? I don't care. I don't give a rat's arse what people think. Leave it to South America if you want. If you want to do that, I don't think there's any place for it. And that's just my opinion. But over policing, everyone talks about. I keep saying it. We've got fair weather supporters. Talk's cheap.
They won't turn up.
Buy a season ticket and go every week.
Yep.
Go to the away games where you can. Understanding we've got another issue. Geographically, we are very unusual to the rest of the world. Where our national league geographically is massive. You can't just go to Sydney to Melbourne if you're just the average Joe Block. I mean, you can get a bus, but it's not as easy as the Premier League, where most grounds are 2-3 hours away, right? On a bus. Most grounds. You can get to London, to Manchester, to Ipswich. You can get to the grounds 2-3 hours, right? You can't do that in Australia. You can't get to Adelaide from Sydney. You can't get, you can fly. But it's expensive.
Kenny, wasn't that the thing? Wasn't that the time when you was the Western? Was it the Southern and Western? What the divisions during the NSL? They had to change it because of the different.
That was the end. That was the 1984 when they did that. That was the end of the. That was the end of the NSL. That killed it. It wasn't a national league after that. It was a super state league.
Was that because teams were travelling closer to each other and stuff like that?
Yeah, and we lost because remember we had Ansett originally, and we had sponsorship. We had flights subsidised, and then Ansett went belly up, and I'm going back a long way. And it's 84, but the cost of transporting teams nationally just became too much. So they decided to designate them into super state leagues, and then have a grand final at the end. But it was never a national league from 84 on. It was a super state league with a national league grand final.
Northern and Southern division. Northern and Southern, yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, Northern Southern. And you ended up. You ended up. It never had the same flavour. I mean, I remember. We used to from 77 to up to 84. All games were Sunday. They were 3:00. We'd fly on a Saturday to Adelaide, to Melbourne, to Brisbane, to Canberra, wherever. Stay overnight. Play the game, come back Sunday night.
Gee.
That's how it was. We fight against, we want to play summer football. We want to play times of the night where people are still travelling and getting home from work. We've got all these things that we think's progressive, which in actual fact I don't believe are. But that's just my opinion. I just believe if we went back to 3 p.m. on a Sunday, I believe the crowds will be better. We're not competing against anything other than the women's football. We'll get, and I think Angelo's mentioned before, you play women's A-League first game, men's A-League second game on the one programme. Then you'll get a joint crowd. You'll boost the crowd by maybe 1,000, 1,500, and we'll start getting some sort of momentum with that.
Yes.
It's so fragmented. I wouldn't know when the women's W League's playing. I've got no idea.
This is it. And let me tell you, this weekend. Go on. Before you start, Angelo, go on.
Yeah, go on, Harry. Go on.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time. Do you have what it takes to become a soccer superstar? Look no further than Soccer Pro Academy. Led by experienced coaches, including a former Socceroo, the Academy provides world-class training to help you reach your full potential. From technical skills to tactical awareness, they'll help you develop the skills and mindset needed to succeed at the highest level. Soccer Pro Academy, where champions are made.
Are you looking for the perfect kit for your football club? Try Arrow Sport today. From jerseys to shorts to socks, Arrow Sport will have you completely covered. We can even cover your merchandising line, including hats, beanies, scarves, jumpers, and so much more. So if you're looking for excellent lead times, great pricing, and even better quality, try Arrow Sport today by looking at our website at arrowsport.com.au. And even better quality, try Arrow Sport today by looking at our website at arrowsport.com.au.
Looking for a haven to unwind and indulge? Look no further than Brista Cafe, nestled in the heart of Derrimut Village Shopping Centre. From decadent homemade gourmet cookies to scrumptious muffins, every bite is a delight. Everyone loves Brista Cafe, and you will too. So why wait? Visit Brista Cafe today and taste the difference for yourself.
Hi guys, Harry Sundai here, letting you know that there's a apparel company that supports the game that you love. It's called ThereIsOnlyOneFootball.com, guys. They've got all sorts of stuff, from caps, t-shirts, water bottles, all sorts of accessories, even for your mobile phone.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
This weekend, in the last 2 weekends in Victoria, in the NPL, Preston have taken the lead. Well, exactly what you said, Kenny. They're playing their games now. It's too cold to play on Friday nights. They're playing 3 p.m. Sundays, Kenny. They've gone back to the future. They're gone back again. They've gone back to daytime playing 3 p.m. Sundays. I would prefer to go there. Why would I go and spend the problems I have with my back and everything to go and spend there 8:30 at night time when the weather's going to be right down to how much? 5 degrees. They've gone now, at least they've done the right thing by going to 3 p.m. Sunday, Angelo. But I commend them for doing that because they will get more people.
Yeah, no, definitely the time slot, that's marketing as well, Thinking like if it's a rainy night, Friday night, like you said, Harry, you don't feel like getting up from, after dinner, and going to the game. But look, I think that there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of work to be done with our game, and there's a lot of incentives too. I mean, we're still talking today, after 20, 25 years, that our game, in terms of participation, it is the most popular in Australia and right now in New Zealand as well. Okay, so we got let's say 25, 26 million people in Australia, 5 million New Zealand. We've got 30 million people where we can market the game. Okay, there is so much that can be done, gentlemen. I think that we need the leadership to stand up now. Okay, without mentioning names, those people that are leading our game, that are the powers to be, to take the game to the next level. And the game is showing us and telling us that there is a lot of interest out there. We know when the Matildas play. We know when the Socceroos play. The interest is there. And they're saying, but we're not going to go to the A-League. So what happens there?
Well, mate, you made the point. I mean, and I totally agree. If we had a national body, national body,
one,
and we go to the government and say, look, guys, we have got 3 million participants playing this game at the moment. Approximately 3 million at the moment we've got, which is a massive percentage of the population, right? And we've got 3 million votes here, and we want some investment in our game. We want you to be throwing some money at the sticks and giving us, but we can't do it because we've got Victoria separate and they're Labour. We've got New South Wales is Liberal, and we just don't know how to get together and leverage the government, and that's what the AFL does. That's what they do. The NRL does. They leverage the government.
So can you imagine, Kenny, there's a like coalition, like there's a cohesion, sort of a collaborative and all that. But can you imagine, gentlemen, just a very simple proposal here. Albanese, when the Matildas were playing, he was like amazed, like everybody else was around Australia, around New Zealand and the world. Now, how much does it take for a government to pick up the phone and look, they might have done this. I'm not criticising anybody. Call FIFA, have a meeting because FIFA, they've got a different perspective on the game. Kenny, you would know that. Can you imagine Infantino was in Australia, get him around the table, take him out to the dinner, to the most luxurious, buy whatever, take him there and have a chat to him and just say, how can we grow our game? How can we develop our game? We've got these ideas. FIFA, as you know, they are the second most powerful organisation in the world, second to the White House. And in terms of finance, well, they're never short of finance. I remember they made a marketing mistake on here. Something like 900 million was a spit in the ocean. So what I'm trying to say, why don't we actually utilise and maximise the opportunity which...
Angelo, we just lost... You're frozen up there for a sec.
Like it or not,
yep.
Australia is a continuous developing country. We have done massive sort of inroads with the Matildas. Okay? I'm stating the obvious. The Socceroos are well perceived. There's a lot of interest. The A-League, the flagship, the national competition, okay? That's where we need to invest in terms of strategy, and then, of course, the income will come. I don't think that the game has ever suffered from a lack of finance. When we look at developing countries, like Japan's done really well, China's done really well, Korea, and we could go on and on and on. I really don't want to... mention another 200 countries that have done well, that have improved. We're going to see them at the next World Cup. However, Australia, we're doing well when we started with the 8-team competition, when Frank Lowy was there. And he said, I never get sick of saying this, it costs $1 million for the entity to enter the league. It is an $8 million business today, and we want to make it an $80 million business, gentlemen, in 10 years. I don't know how much it's worth now with the budget being around 11, 12 million, 10 million. Let's say it's 140 million, okay, 150 million business. But gentlemen, the game presented well, done well, is never short of $1. And I'll finish by saying this. I remember when COVID hit the world. When COVID hit the world in 2020, okay, we thought a lot of the clubs were going to go down because there was no public, there was no fans going to the game. And there is Real Madrid going and bought Bale for 100 million. The same year as the COVID hit the world. Gentlemen, what I'm trying to say, it is possible, okay? We just need to get our act together, approach the government and approach FIFA.
The thing about this is also is that I just want to get back to Western United right now. I just got some information that some certain club is interested in the licence, but that club will not be allowed to take the licence. They will not be allowed to take the licence. This is what I'm hearing from the APL. They will not allow, and apparently what I heard was if this club had by the licence fee from Western United, two clubs, this is what I've heard from there, someone else in there, that two clubs will give their licence back. That's the unity we need in the game. Like you said, Kenny, and we're talking about clubs that want to buy the licence and they've got a massive following as well. And this is the way they look at the game in this country, where they're not together. Let's fix the A-League, let's do this. And they've got money to pay for it, but they won't allow them to play in the league. Tell me how the A-League's supposed to work, Angelo. It's a disgrace. It's a massive disgrace.
Harry, there's an old saying.
It's a disgrace.
When the lunatics have got the keys,
it's true.
When the lunatics have got the keys, to the asylum,
work it out.
You know you're in trouble. Yeah?
This is where Angelo.
When the lunatics have got the keys to the asylum,
Kenny's right.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
This is a disgrace, a massive disgrace, mate. What sort of people are they?
We don't know whether. Kenny, I'm not doubting what you're saying. We don't know whether it's the truth. But at the end of the day, let me say this. Let me say this, right? Adelaide United handed in the licence. 2016, I think it was. Perth Glory handed in their licence, and then the FA stepped in and saved them, saved the state, and all that sort of thing. Well, what I'm trying to say here, if Western United, let's say MacArthur, okay, just as an example, want to hand in their licence, okay, then, Harry, what needs to happen, and we need to be very careful, the APL need to have a criteria. Let's say it's South Melbourne, okay? Let's say South Melbourne wants to buy, okay, South Melbourne wants to buy Western United licence. We need to get the criteria out and tick all the boxes. I mean, to see whether South Melbourne has a long-standing, right, financial sustainability, okay? Because you can't just buy a licence for 2 million or 3 million or 10 million. Then what are you going to do? You're going to have to start to buy players. You're going to have to form a squad. You're going to have a coach. And your budget, all of a sudden, as Kenny said it very well before, so a $12 million budget, some have 8. Let's say 10 is the magical number, okay?
15,
you can't just buy a licence. Then 15, what are you going to do after?
Angelo, 15 million. Let's just say that one, huh?
Okay, let's say even 15 million. My point is this, Harry. You go and buy a licence for 15, then what are you going to do for the next 5 years? If it's going to be 15 million a year, right, you're talking 75 million, 100 million. So that's the question. That South Melbourne, I'm saying, I love South Melbourne. I think South Melbourne have made their state. They've made a point. They actually got great history, like Adelaide City, Sydney Olympic, and there are others, okay? However, gentlemen, this long-standing financial viability is fundamental. It is very important. Otherwise, we're going to have the situation with Western United where Kenny said a fantastic idea. The fact that in Western United and thereabouts, the local community, they've got Indian people there in mass. I mean, why not do a marketing campaign? Which 400,000 people, then you might get 10%.
Let me just tell you, Angelo, let me just tell you one thing about that area. I've been there many times. It is disgusting what they've done. Look, I don't want to upset anybody out there, but they're in the middle of nowhere. The housing is so far away from there. It is so far away, the estates. They've put it into one road. And do you know what happens? Do you know how you get, if you got no car, you've got no train, no nothing. You've got to get a bus from Truganina to get to there. You got to have the bus to get to there. If you got no bus, you can't get there. There is nothing there, Kenny, nothing. And then they say why people don't turn up. That's the point I want to make. You've got to have infrastructure in place to bring people to the thing. There's no train station, there's nothing. And so what are they talking about? To keep this club? It's a disgrace, Kenny. No infrastructure. They never even organised anything. Nothing at all. How can they even survive about that, you know?
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
Crazy.
It's interesting, mate. You know, I mean, there's lots of clubs got plenty of infrastructure.
Yes, yes.
And they're not getting crews.
I know.
I think again. I know I keep talking about this, but we've got an unusual new generation of support, and I know I keep calling them fair weather supporters, but they are. They're not passionate like the old Greeks, the Italians, the Yugoslavs. But what we haven't done is we haven't attacked the ethnic populations that we should be attacking.
We're not doing
which
it.
is the Japanese, the Chinese, the Koreans, the Indians. You know, when you go and watch the Matildas, you go and watch the Socceroos.
Well,
have a look at how many are Japanese, how many are Korean.
We had Honda. We had Kazuki Honda playing at bloody Melbourne Victory. How many Japanese were coming to watch him? Yeah. You see? Yeah. Work that one out.
But what we do is we paint this ethnic flag and we say, oh, the Greeks are finished, the Italians are finished, the Croatians are finished. But we've got new ethnic groups that were just
new generation. New generation now.
And they don't come to the A-League games because they've got no assimilation. You've got to allow them to assimilate. You know, there's a happy medium between Australianising and assimilating. You know, if you had a Japanese club and you allow them to, you know, to celebrate and bring Japanese players here and whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You know, but we just need to go.
Eric, you know, and Kenny, we all know that these days, you know, like you can define an Australian. Who is Australian? You know, so at the end of the day, as I said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That we've got the blueprint of many successful clubs, the clubs that have done it. Unfortunately, we can safely say now that Western United should not have been admitted in the competition. They've had their opportunities. I mean, you know, someone from the club will scream and pick up the phone and abuse me or someone else. But at the end of the day, gentlemen, you've won an NSL title, you won an A-League title, and you haven't grown the club. It's not anyone. I'm not having a dig at anyone in personal there, but if you win a competition like Western United did, and you can't grow your membership, you can't grow your fan base, there is a major problem there. You got no future. Absolutely. MacArthur, they've had their opportunity. We don't know what the contract is. Kenny, you know, James Johnson, you know, at his time made there's a contract with the FA at the time. Now we've got the APL. So we really don't know what's happened and what the contract is. But what we do know today is that those clubs will find it impossible to grow.
Let me say, I've got something here.
Western United and MacArthur got afterpay for the license.
I heard that.
They got a payment plan. I mean, really, you know, seriously.
This is what I want to tell you. I got George here talking to us right now. A man who's really talking sense here. George, thank you for coming on talking to us. Western United's owners should give their team a proper club identity by changing their name to Wyndham City, which is the name of their council area where 324,000 people live. Unbelievable. And this is where you sort of like say to yourself, when Hume City came to the NPL Victoria from another area, they called themselves Hume City. Hume City. Directly, the same as the council area. So why is it? You know what I'm saying, Angelo? The identity of that club has been a big mistake, and they should have played in Geelong. I said it before. They should have played in Geelong. They should have been calling themselves Geelong City and be in the A-League, but no, they decided to go in the middle of nowhere, where Geelong has so many people, a big football community, and they went to this place. They should have gone to Geelong. I said it a long time ago. Ridiculous.
Well, that's an excellent point, Gary. That's an excellent point, because we talked about infrastructure. This is another criteria. I think today we've touched on a lot of criteria, gentlemen. If you actually go and position a club, located, if you like, you've got to locate it where there is infrastructure, there is transport, there is facilities, there are, in terms of eateries and all that sort of stuff around where the community there can actually gain a lot from this entity, And look, we've got a fantastic infrastructure in Melbourne. You guys know better than me in terms of where South Melbourne plays, and we've got new stadiums, okay. And this is where the APL needs to be conscious of creating another entity. And I agree with Kenny. Kenny said it many times. Instead of having a second tier competition, why not bring the A-League to 16 teams? Australia is the country that it is. Geographically, it is a very, very large country, and we've got to be conscious of the expenses and travel and all this sort of thing. You have a look at the AFL. They always do it well. I remember Port Adelaide Power. Port Adelaide Power were playing their games at West Lakes. Okay, can you gentlemen believe this? They actually demolished a stadium and relocated Port Adelaide Power to Adelaide Oval, where all the infrastructure, all the buses, all the trains and the transport, people coming from 50 kilometres, to go and watch the game. And what I'm trying to say here is the AFL Commission had guts. They had a lot of guts. Gentlemen, could you imagine you making a decision one day, getting up and say, we're going to demolish this stadium. It's a 60,000 seater. It's only 20 years old. We're going to demolish it. But they've done it. They've done it for the future of football. So, like the Japanese, you have to think about not 3 or 4 years ahead. You've got to think 50 years ahead.
Angelo,
hopefully, yeah.
I have one more thing for you guys, is that a few years ago, I was doing some research in the Singapore League, okay? Now, and when Frank Lowy was the chairman of Football Australia, whatever it was at the time, somebody went and spoke, and Kenny might know this one too, that somebody the guy who actually organised the beginning of the Premier League in England, of course, the same guy who fixed it, put it together, came and spoke to Frank Lowy and said, we'd like to have you guys, when you start the A-League, why don't you, instead of starting the A-League, go into the Singapore Asian League? They're going to call it the Super League, Asian Super League, right? They've got teams there right now from Japan playing, 2 teams playing in that. This is what I can't understand. The money is in Asia, Angelo and Kenny. The money is in Asia, and I'll say it again. The money is in Asia. You put teams in, and they were playing. Some teams were playing there. It was the Perth Kangaroos and Darwin Olympic were playing in that Singapore League, boys. They were playing in there, and they were bringing people from. Are you talking about Darwin being so close to Singapore? Of course, people come and watch the games and everything. This is ridiculous. We should have had teams.
The only problem, I played in Singapore,
yes,
and I played in Hong Kong, and I played in Malaysia. They had their moments, but they certainly are semi-pro leagues now. Singapore's a very obviously small place. Literally, they should be playing in the Malaysian Cup, because Malaysia's just across the bridge, right?
Yes.
But the biggest league, really historically, there was the Malaysian League. That was huge at one stage.
Yes,
it was massive. They were getting massive crowds. I played a game in Malaysia where we got 48,000.
Oh, gee. God.
At a game. The problem is the gambling and the betting there. That a few Aussie boys get caught up in.
Yeah, we know. I know who they were. I know that.
Yeah, we all know who they were. But the reality is that I think some sort of Super League would be good. But again, where the money is with that is you've got Star TV, you've got then massive TV revenue. That's where it works. That's why the Premier League works. Every team gets about 80 odd million to play in the Premier League, and if you win it, you get an extra 10 or 15 million. So if you play in the Premier League, you start the season with 82 million pounds, which is 160 million dollars before you even kick off, right? But just going, because we've sort of been on this subject the whole night, I suppose. But just going off at a tangent, seeing you wear that AC Milan shirt.
Yes, no,
I was going to say to Angelo, Serie A. Yeah, I know it's.
I know.
But Serie A is turning into the big league in the world. De Bruyne's gone to Napoli. Modric has gone to AC Milan. I mean, they're signing some huge players in Serie A at the moment.
Marquee players.
Kenny, if you remember, Kenny, some time ago, Foxtel had signed a fantastic lucrative deal with the A-League. And the A-League was going strong. It was good. It was popular. Crowds were there. And look, that's why I keep saying we really don't have to reinvent the wheel. But I think that we need to have the approach. Number one, we need to get the fans back to the gates. Okay, how do you do that? Look, Infantino, unashamedly, the president of FIFA, unashamedly has come out on television publicly, said we are not selling tickets before the first game kicked off. So he approached the marketing department there, approached the universities, went out to get bums on seats, okay? With the A-League, you need to make it popular first, in order to get commercial partners, business, okay? Everybody wants to see a winner. Everybody wants to see the big crowds. You get a sellout, people want to know, what's going on there? I want to go next week. So it's a bit of a steamrolling sort of exercise, And look, I think we're not too far away. I think that a lot of people are hurt, that running the game, they're hurt at the moment. And tomorrow, not literally tomorrow morning, but I think in the next coming months, we will see changes coming in. And we need that because the game itself, it's always beautiful. It's a beautiful game. Everybody, we've just disenfranchised from the media. How could we continue to have this bad relationship with the media, Kenny? How? I don't understand.
We need Jesus with 40 fishes and 40 loaves, mate. We really, we need that
Angelo.
to feed all the teams. I mean, you're right, but the problem we've historically had is that we don't seem to we're the poor man's third sport or fourth sport even.
Yes.
If you talk about AFL, rugby league, cricket, and then football or soccer. But I always say it, we always rise from the ashes, regardless of what happens. We always rise from the ashes because we are the biggest sport in the world. There's no bigger event than the World Cup. The Olympic Games don't even go close.
No. The
World Cup is the biggest watched sporting event in history. Consistently. It's there, but how do we... going back to what Angelo said at the beginning, it all comes back to unity. We're worst enemies. We've got no unity. We've got little groups: Victoria, New South Wales, Brisbane,
Queensland, Queensland,
Matildas, Women's League. We need it. We need it all to be together. And we bring all the funds together. We start buying some real estate. We start getting some assets that we can actually generate.
I've been saying it for a long time.
Some, beverages, alcohol, food. We've got none of that.
Kenny,
anywhere.
I said it many years ago, Kenny. They had the opportunity to take Olympic Park, Australian Soccer Federation. They didn't take it. They didn't want it. So there you go. They had no money. Australian Soccer Federation didn't want it. There you go. What a joke. They could have still had it and it could have been theirs.
In today's fast-paced business world, reliable logistics is key to success. That's where PC and FS Logistics come in. With a comprehensive range of services including air, sea and domestic transport, as well as secure warehousing, we've got your supply chain covered. From origin destination, our expert team ensures your goods are handled with care and delivered on time, every time.
Yeah, look, we don't have a home. We don't have a home. You gentlemen, you're right. We don't have a home, but I think they're working on that. I think that slowly need to get, other commercial partners involved with the best. That is the Socceroos, the Matildas, and then, hopefully we can get some money flow into the A-League, because the A-League, it's a crying shame because there is a market out there for the A-League. We've shown that. We've seen that. We've seen the popular. I mean, gentlemen, can you remember not so long ago when Kevin Muscat was playing for Melbourne Victory, getting 60,000? I mean,
yes.
Where are those people coming from? Where are those people coming from, and where they've gone? I mean,
we had proper marquee players back then. Del Piero was probably the biggest one. I mean, I think something like Sydney FC sold something in the region of 140,000 strips overseas with Del Piero on Sydney FC jumpers.
Yep.
He was immense. We had Dwight York. We haven't got any of them anymore. We don't.
Can you believe, right? And this is a fact. When Del Piero was playing in Australia, we in Italy were getting the A-League.
Yep.
At that comfortable time, we were getting every game, every Sky, the Sky Television, pay TV, and mind you, one or two games on free to air. We were actually getting the A-League on television because you had the flagship over there, Del Piero playing there. So this is another marketing strategy, Kenny, that you mentioned.
Let me
well, mate, you're
There's
right.
no more
when I go to the UK, they've got the A-League on the UK. It's on about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But they've got it. I mean, it's actually there. My brother watches it.
Can I just say, in the last 2 years in the Premier League, that every week they were advertising on SEN Radio, and everybody knows all this, and because you guys have been listening to this, SEN Radio were putting on every Tottenham Hotspur game. Why were they doing that? Why were they doing that, Kenny? Because of Ange Postecoglou. They looked at him as something big, representing Australia as the first Australian coach to coach in the Premier. And that's the same thing, what you're talking about. Del Piero, the same sort of thing. Ange was massive. Every time you turn on the radio on Saturday night or Sunday night, the Tottenham Hotspur, they must have got so many people,
And Harry, the same reason why Stan has got the J-League. Mm-hmm. We've had Ange Postecoglou there. We've had Kevin Muscat there. There is an interest. I mean, television is about that. We are, all you need to do is ask Harry Michaels. He knows all about ratings. Yes, he knows why. He knows. Why do the people follow it? Why do the people go to the stadium?
Yeah. We've got a big history with the J-League. I mean, Eddie Thompson, Popovic,
Graham Arnold was there too. Graham Arnold. Kisnorbe was there. Kisnorbe just failed.
He was there.
Kisnorbe failed.
We've got a big. Tommy Samani was there. We've got a huge history in the J League.
Harry Kuehl was there. Yeah. Kuehl was there too.
Yeah, we've got plenty.
I know that's the thing.
So, gentlemen, this is it. If things are so obvious, right? Why are things not getting done? For example, I'll say this again because it is very, very important. Okay, why has not governing body or the APL approached the media a luxurious luncheon or luncheon get together, okay, and find out why the game is being ignored? That's a very serious thing. I mean, I hate to be the media manager of each of those A-League clubs, sending out a media release and getting ignored.
Look,
not having any presence.
Just remember, Kenny,
I mean, when we got newsworthy stuff.
Kenny, in your time playing in the NSL or the Phillips League, whatever it is, we're going to finish shortly. At your time there, was there any basketball played at the time? Was there any AFL played on Sundays? Was there any? There wasn't much sports. It was only
AFL. Yeah. AFL were there, and rugby league.
But that would be about it. That would be about it. But not the other games. That's the other thing. But you've been playing winter at the time too. Winter at the time, very different.
Yes.
So we're talking here summer.
We played the NSL or the Phillips Soccer League started end of Feb, finished September.
There you go.
Something like that.
That's the other point you want to make too.
So
that's the other point, Kenny.
But look, the reality is, back then we had better coverage.
Yes,
we were on Channel 7, Rex Mossop show with Johnny Warren. We were on obviously SBS. Towards 81, 82. We had Channel 10, although they stuck us on a late night, highlights at 10 o'clock.
That's right.
But we certainly had a lot more media.
That's right.
But we also had printed media. We had Tommy Anderson, David Jack, John Taylor, Laurie Swab, Andrew Detry. We had legends of the print media that waved the flag and drove the sport. Mm-hmm. And you need people like them, waving the flag. You need guys who are passionate about the game that force it across the line and say, guys, give me an extra column in the paper tomorrow in the Mirror, or give me an extra column in the Sun, or whatever. And then we had Australian Soccer Weekly, we had Soccer Weekly, we had Soccer World, we had Soccer Action. I mean, it was amazing back then.
It was.
It really was. When I think back, we've receded dramatically.
We have.
From that perspective.
As a young kid...
Then again, as you said, Kenny, I mean, those types of things, sold papers. Before it was about, what's your sport about? Oh, do we sell papers? Are we going to sell papers? Now you're talking about digital marketing, okay? Have we missed the boat? Can we get back and recover? Mm-hmm. In terms of reading the papers, Kenny, yourself, you can go on the media, you can go on the web, you can go, and it's all changed from 20 years ago. So as the APL, the governing body, whoever's leading the shit, like these are the type of things to implement. If you need to put a person there that relates with the media, you need to put that person in. Otherwise, the media says, "Oh, look, it's too hard. It's too hard." The only competitor we have, being a summer competition, is the cricket, and even there, Adelaide United. Why did Adelaide United, for example, get over 50,000 if they played at Adelaide Oval? And, at High March, they'll get 15, 20. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because, gentlemen, Adelaide United...
I know I've said it before. I've said it a million times. We're not just competing in summer with sport. We're competing against Paul McCartney, AC/DC,
concerts
all these massive concerts.
Exactly, yep.
And it's not like once every six weeks or 10 weeks. There's nearly one every 2 weeks or every week in a lot of cases. Taylor Swift.
Filling stadiums.
And we're competing against them. I can't believe that we put, for example, that it was the Sydney Derby, and they played it on the Saturday night of the Paul McCartney concert next door.
Gee.
That had 80,000 there.
God.
Look, Kenny, that's an excellent point, Kenny, but I've got to say, in 2003, 4, 5, right up to 2010, where we had summer competition, Kenny, you're right. You make a good point. We were also, the entertainment centre is only 100 metres from High March Stadium, okay? But you know what you can do? You can do things like, for example, we had Johnny Farnham there. So we rang the ticketing company, got Johnny Farnham at High March 2 days before. Mm-hmm. So he's come over there, promoted our game, and promoted himself. There is integration. There is marketing. Look, it's all about marketing, gentlemen. I'll never stop saying this. It is about doing it properly.
Exactly.
Okay? And in summer, we had the same window you're talking about now, with a lot of these entertainers coming in summer, because it's summer. You just need to integrate it and do it properly.
Let me tell you, Angelo, and you...
I've just looked at the... Sorry, mate.
Let me...
Just looked there in November. AC/DC sold 480,000 tickets.
Nobody's going to the games.
And it's right in the middle of winter. It's right in the middle of the A-League. Yep. November.
Let me tell you, in 1972-73, I'm going that far back. Let me tell you what was going on in Victoria at the time. Before we qualified for the World Cup in '74, it was Victorian State League Soccer. And guess what they were doing, Angelo? And they were doing more at that time than now, playing the Victorian State League on Channel 9, 3 p.m, every Sunday afternoon. Every Sunday afternoon. And here we are with YouTube and rubbish like that rubbish. This was mainstream TV in Victoria. Yet I could see all the boys playing that were playing in the NSL after them, playing in the NSL after that too. I mean, I can't believe this. Having a Channel 9 playing State League soccer games on, and I went to Brunswick Juventus here and we spoke to one of their guys and says, do you remember one of their players that was playing at that time? Yes, of course. Tony Charlton was the commentator on Channel 9 and they were showing the games and playing them live on TV, black and white TV, Angelo. What was going on at that? That was before the World Cup in '74. You see what's going on?
Yes, a very good point, Harry. I think the question is, we've got, look, the observation, let's say, we've got many more reasons to get it right than to get it wrong. Because obviously we've got some of the strategies wrong. Okay, gentlemen, we all love the game. We passionately love the game. But I believe that we have enough intelligence, intellectuality, okay, to go and knock on the right doors and have a different approach. Obviously, we need to look at our approach because the approach in the last 15 years has not been right.
Mate, I'm just looking at something at the moment and it's quite ironic, because this shows we're not on a level playing field. Channel 9 right now has got the 100% footy show.
Yes.
They've moved the live Wimbledon, which is the biggest tennis event in the world, to 9GEM.
There you go.
So they'd rather have the 100% footy on the 9 network and move Wimbledon to GEM, which is, Wimbledon's massive.
It's the biggest. It's the biggest. It's the World Cup of tennis. The World Cup of tennis. That's what it is.
World Cup of tennis.
That's right.
And they're showing 100% footy now, and Wimbledon has moved. And when the footy show finishes at 10:05,
they'll take it back.
They'll move Wimbledon back to Channel 9.
It's how important football. See what they do.
That just sums it up.
It does.
That means, Kenny, that just means that the footy show rates a lot higher than the Wimbledon.
Exactly.
Well, they would like us to believe that. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't. When I look at, the rugby league crowds, there's 4 or 5 of them get really good crowds, but some of them get, 2,000-3,000. They're not exactly diving through hoops. Nothing like AFL. Not even close.
Let me just
look.
Let me just point.
Kenny, we can talk all day.
We need to go, boys.
I think at the end, it is. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, you're fine.
I think at the end of the day, we've got to look at our governing body. We have to look at our leaders, because at the end of the day, something can crush, crumble, go backwards, and then at the end of the day, what do we say? We can't blame the game. The game is strong as ever. Kenny, you said it before. It is the biggest game on earth. It has been for the last 100 years. It is in Australia as well.
It is.
The figures go, the participation, all that sort of thing.
By a length and a mile.
Yep. It's not. Look, it's not rocket science. Unfortunately, they have to look at themselves and get the right people in the right positions, and then motor on.
There is something before we go for me to mention.
13.8% of the Australian population play soccer.
There you go.
Well, I rest my case.
Let me just say. I'll just say this before we go
tonight. Of the total population. 13.8%.
And we can't get it right.
Huge.
And we can't get it right. We can't get it right. That's the other point I want to make. But let me say one thing about this show that we're going to be doing on Channel 31. There is an opportunity as well, because Angelo, I've learnt this. I can stream shows now. I can stream a whole game if I want to. I can stream a whole game. Imagine trying to stream the what do you call that new competition, Kenny? What do you call it? That new competition we're talking about starting on the 10th of October. What's it called? I call it the Mickey Mouse competition. Okay. But that's what I wanted to say. But let me say, I could stream that directly to Channel 31 if they give me an opportunity. Can you imagine me doing that? Can you imagine me doing it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon?
I think Angelo mentioned it before. The FA should be securing some TV rights.
Exactly. We need the TV rights.
It should be on. Will it be SBS? It should be on a TV channel.
That's
and
right.
if the FA are doing a decent job, they should be giving it. Even if they give it for free.
Oh my
they
God!
should be
And they should,
marketing
but
it
they can get it for free.
with a free air channel.
NITV will put it on for free. They'll put it on for free. They will do that. They've said it. If I want to do something, they'll put it for free as well.
NITV is like SBS, mate.
It's part of
Well,
SBS.
As you know, gentlemen, as you know, nothing is for free. They'll
No,
say
there
to you,
isn't.
get your
I know.
phone, get this for free, and you're paying for internet time.
There you go.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, what we
That's
need
true.
to do is package our television rights. There's big dollars into that. Package it right and then sell it. Because we did it. It's not like we haven't done it before.
No, I know.
We did it when the A-League started with Foxtel. Right now, you've got the Matildas, did the Socceroos in 12 months, 360 days. We've got the World Cup.
I know that.
I mean, what are these guys doing? I'm not saying the governing body or the APL, but whoever is the commercial director.
Oh.
Forgive me for saying this. You have your work to do.
We know who it
right
is.
now.
We know who it is.
Right now.
Anyway, boys, and next week's, we're not talking to you about
good.
next week's guest is already set up for us this week, and next Monday night, everybody is a big supporter of some club called Fitzroy United. Fitzroy United is Heidelberg United. So our special guest next week is Gary Cole, guys. Gary Cole is on next week. He's got a lot of things to talk about. Gary's got a lot of stuff to talk about, believe me. So this is a big show next week. So please go on, Angelo. Go on.
No, look, I think fantastic. Look, welcome Gary on board. He's got big stories
Mate,
to tell.
what do you say?
And Harry, I just want to suggest, Harry, I know you've thought about this 1,000 times, but I'd like to suggest, let's get one of the Matildas on and one of the young aspiring stars.
I've asked.
In the group, yeah.
I've asked so many times. They will not come on. You got to speak to their manager and all this and this, and you know how it works, Angelo, don't you? Oh my God, it's just.
And we can speak to Heather Gary.
We can speak to Heather, and I'm sure we can speak to Heather. Actually, I could speak to her. That's right, yes. Through Peter Philopoulos, I might call Peter Philopoulos and see what we can do. That's the other thing too. Let's see what we can do, guys. Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight, boys.
Good to see you, boys.
Thanks, guys.
See you, mate. Bye, mate.
Thanks, guys. Next week, we've got, as I said, next week, we've got Gary Cole coming on, former Socceroo, former Fitzroy United. You can't wait to see that next week, guys. 8 p.m. next Monday night. Don't be shy. What a big show it was. Of course, all these issues, we're trying to fix them up ourselves at the think tank on Football is Live tonight. Thank you. Hup. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thank you. Hup. Felix. Hup. Let's party, guys. Don't forget, next Monday, 8 p.m, Gary Cole is on, former Socceroo, Fitzroy United. Exactly. Hey! The cup of life, this is the one. Now is the time, don't ever stop. We should have known, gotta be strong. We should have known, right from the top. And when you feel the heat, the world is at your feet. No one can hold you back if you really want it. I see it in your eyes. You want the cup of life. Night the days here, you're gonna get it. Do you really want it? Do you want it, guys? Thank you for joining me tonight, football. I'll see you next week with